Here at Eikon, you've been hearing us talk about this series and this day for a long time. The leadership of this place, our board of elders and board of trustees and the staff, we've been praying about this day for a long time, and I am really excited that it's here. It's finally here, and you're wondering, big deal, what is here? Well, we're going to be jumping into this new series called For Our City, and this is something that we're passionate about, as we believe that one of our core values is we exist to be a blessing and a benefit to our community. And we're so excited, but you might look at this and you go, okay, but what city? For our city, which city would that be? How many of you are from San Marcos? Any San Martians here? Yeah, good number. How about anyone from Kyle? Kyle, I live in Kyle, yeah. Wimberley, do we got any Wimberley? Yes, we've got some Wimberley folks. Martindale, New Braunfels, I know we got a few new, okay, awesome. Yeah, they're really excited about New Braunfels. That's right. Yeah, holding it down in the South. They're not in Hayes County, but we'll love them anyway. So we'll let them in. We'll let them be a part of this. They do have to sit in the back, though. That's why he's back there. But man, we are so excited. This idea for our city, it's wherever you are. But here's what I know. How many of you guys, we're all from these different cities. How many of you are Texans? Huh? You guys from Texas? That's right. Forgive me. Again, you know this if you're from here, but I'm a Yankee. So forgive me, pray for me, intercede on my behalf. But here's what I love. When I moved to Texas, 13 years ago, I realized something. I'm originally from Illinois. Illinois, yeah, we got like a woo. That's what you get in Illinois. There's actually a lot more people from Illinois here, and that's what we get. We get a woo. Sounds about right. Illinois doesn't have a whole lot as far as their claim to fame. We've got corn. The town that I'm from, yes, Decatur, Illinois, soybean capital of the world. Yeah, it's a big deal, I know. We don't have a whole lot. You know, another thing that Illinois has, kind of our claim to fame, is we are the, let's give Andrew a round of applause. Let's be honest for a moment. Knowing that I didn't know that was upside down, but the second I would have watched that video, that would have bugged me. How many of you that would have driven you crazy? You were tempted yourself to walk up and fix that. You're like, I'm not going to hear a word he says. So thank you, Andrew, for all of our OCD folks in the room. You just saved them the rest of this message. But Illinois doesn't have a whole lot going for it. One of our claim to fame, not only farm country, out of the past 7 governors, it's a big deal. 4 of them are in prison. So we've got that. It's a big deal. I kid you not. We have a special wing in the prisons, like the governor's mansion, and then the governor's cell. Kind of afterwards, you just go straight there. So that's what we have going. But when I moved to Texas, you guys have Texas trucks and Texas commercials and Texas restaurants. I'd watch these commercials, and it was like, DQ, that's what I like. See? They don't have DQ. That's what I like about Illinois. It doesn't exist, You've got Texas-style trucks that are lifted with big tires and leather. In Illinois, it'd run on, corn and maybe be a paddy wagon to go pick up the governors. That's what we have, So I love that Texans love Texas. You guys are all about it, and moving here, getting to see that passion, and I've just loved it. So I love an idea of For Our City. See, as a church, too many churches are known for what they're against. We're against this, or we don't believe in this, or we don't like this kind of thing, or these kinds of people. As a church, Eikon Church, we want to be known for what we're for. And one thing that we're for is we are for our city. If that's Kyle, if that's San Marcos, if that's Buda, if that's anywhere else, we are for our city. See, last week we talked about this, that wherever God has you placed there so that you can live on mission wherever you're at. Your city, it's wherever you are. It's wherever you find yourself. And I love this passage. There's this one verse, and it was written by a prophet thousands of years ago. And it was actually at this time where Israel went into captivity. So they weren't even in their homeland. They were enslaved in another land. They were pulled out. And then this prophet says, guys, I want you to listen. I have something really important. It's found in Jeremiah. Let's look at this. It says, work for the success of the city I have sent you to. Pray to the Lord for that city. If it succeeds, you will enjoy success. And this was written to people living in captivity. He says, no, pray for the success of your city. So how much more for us should we be praying for the success of our city? Should we be believing for our communities the best? Should we be for our city. And as Eikon Church, we say we want to embody this. We want to be this. And you see, it's easy to kind of look around and you listen to Lisa and you hear all these things that you guys have done, the things that you've got to be a part of. And it's easy to go, yeah, like, oh, this is awesome. And, and kind of feel like, yeah, I get to be a part of that. And maybe we come on Sunday mornings and we come so we can be encouraged and it can feel like church is this place you come to. And I come here so that they can feed me and I can go out from here. But this is the place that I come to. But really, that's not what we believe. See, what we believe is that you're the church, that I'm the church. And what we come here to gather and be encouraged and yes, and go out. But at the end of the day, the church doesn't exist for us. We are the church and we exist for the world. Like, we don't exist to be an end in and to ourselves. Like, this is it. Like, we come together and this is our holy little huddle and then we got to go out to the big scary world. No, we don't exist for that reason. We are the church and we exist for the world out there. We exist for these cities. We exist for everything out beyond us. And again, you look at it and you go, wow, well, we've done a pretty decent job. We've done all these amazing things and the city's starting to take notice. That's what I love about Lisa. Not only is she a part of Eikon Church, but she really heard about Eikon from the outside. And she's got this perspective from the city's perspective. And she's saying, hey, listen, like, people are starting to take notice of what you're doing and what you're a part of, that you're existing for them. And that's so exciting. And that's why we're doing For Our City. That's why we're talking about this series and leading into this, is because we want to exist for the world. We want to exist to be a blessing and a benefit to them. And you can look and say, hey, listen, we've done a pretty good job. But here's the thing. This gathering, like all of us here together, this is something that's happened pretty recently. And I remember when this was just a concept, when this was just an idea and a seed that God planted in my heart, and it started in 2005. And in 2005, I had this idea. I went to this conference, and I felt like God put on my heart that I was supposed to start a church at some point. And I didn't know where, and I didn't know how, and I didn't know what it would look like. And it was just this crazy dream. And it sat for probably about 6 years. I just prayed, God, when? God, where? What's it going to look like? And I remember God spoke to me in the fall of 2011, and I felt like he said, all right, this is the time, and it's coming. And I did what every really spiritual person did. I started praying, and I said, God, where? He didn't say anything, so I was real spiritual, and I started throwing darts at a map. And I said, one of these in Jesus' name, and I threw it, and it hit Iowa, and I was like, heck no. And I pulled that out, and I was like, one more shot, God, this one. Illinois is rough, Iowa's rougher. So I just didn't know where. I had no clue. I started praying. And then I went and I decided, hey, even though I don't know where, even though I don't know what it'll look like and how it'll happen, I need to take this step of faith. And I've got this great job at this amazing, large, growing, thriving church. And I need to go and I say, hey, this is kind of the end for me. I'll finish out this year, and I don't know where I'm going. But I believe that God's leading me in this direction. And I talked to Kelly about that, and that went over real well. And we had kids, and, risk is fun. So I decided to do that. And as I was praying about where, I got this call. It's from an old friend of mine. He said, hey, I've got this crazy question. I know that you're at this awesome church, and you've got a great job, and you'll probably never leave. But I feel like I'm supposed to ask you, would you consider maybe planting a church in Texas and San Marcos area? And he had no clue the conversations I had just had. He had no clue the journey that I had been on, the decisions that I was making. And I said, there might be something to that. And we came down and we visited this area, and I fell in love, and I heard God say, this is it. And I'd love, and the thing is, that individual made sacrifices. They were leading a ministry in Austin and serving sacrificially to serve that community, just like how we've served San Marcos and the surrounding areas. And they were serving so consistently and giving so consistently. But in the midst of that, in the midst of a startup ministry, giving out so much, they gave $30,000 to see this place start. And I'd love to walk you through and tell you why they did that and, why they're crazy or stupid or, Jesus, whatever. And I'd love to do that. But I thought what would be better than that, than to have that individual come up and tell you from his perspective how God led him and how God spoke to him. Some of you guys have heard me talk about my friend Jesse Martin, who's somebody who's not just a close friend, but a mentor of mine, someone I respect immensely and who means the world to me. And he's here this morning, and we're going to bring him up here in a second. But here's the deal. I want you guys to understand. I can't, make it literal enough. We would not be here without this person. I probably would have gone somewhere up north. Dear God, thank you. There's snow. It's cold. We'd be somewhere else. The only reason I came here was because one person heard from God and was willing to take a risk and willing to sacrifice. And because of that, all those things you heard, you sitting here, we are a result of one person's obedience to God and willingness to take a risk. So please, would you join me in honoring one of my best friends, Jesse Martin?
All right, sit down. I'm going to cry. I don't want to cry here. I don't know you. It's kind of weird. Nothing's ever done on your own. You guys as a church are impacting your city because you link up together on a team. And there was a team in Austin who got a vision to plant a church in San Marcos. It really made no sense. They were doing something totally different. But God spoke a picture of the city. And we saw a vision of the city. That sounds really weird and super spiritual. We're not super spiritual. We're broken people. We're messed up people just like anybody else. But we just saw this picture, and God said, you need to give $30,000 to start a seed of a ministry in San Marcos. We come to find out, we asked the people who are over our ministry, hey, can we give money away? They're like, you don't have any money. How are you going to give $30,000 away? You need to get some money. You need to get some people to give to you. And so we said, but we believe God has spoken to us at the same time. We need to give this money and start a church. And I have some special friends here today who were the ones who gave $50. They were working at Starbucks. They were working at a coffee shop. They gave $100. They gave $500. They asked their family members to give $1,000. And before it was over, it was $30,000 from a small group of people. And I want you to know God is going to speak to you today to do something big. That when God speaks and you move, stuff happens. And I want to invite them to stand. Those who are part of the venture team, I have a few friends here this morning. If you'd stand up, I want you to honor them this morning. Right back there, you see in the back. I mean, they believed in something crazy, and God did it. We go and start to ask for permission to give this money away that we don't have yet, and it starts coming in. I go and meet with somebody for coffee, a kid who was just going to college, and he gave me a $10,000 check, and it didn't bounce. I mean, it was $10,000. He's younger than me. How does he have this money? And then we had a gentleman come up to us and say, I heard that you're going to do something really risky. You're going to step out in faith. I'm going to give you $1,000 a month for the next 12 months. Just stuff started happening because when God speaks and you move, stuff happens. Stuff happens, and he's speaking to you today. We went to a leader and said, okay, we want to call somebody to come be the pastor. We don't know who that's going to be, but we want to call somebody. And they said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, I can only think of one person who's the best leader I know who can come and plant this church. I used to work on staff. I used to be his boss, and we had 4 or 5 speakers at our church. He was the best speaker. He was the best leader. I said, man, if we're going to plant, we got to call Dan. And so we made a call to Dan and Kelly and asked him to come here to take a step of faith. I didn't know he had already quit and said he's just going to step out, didn't know where he was going. And so unbeknownst to me, we didn't do this. I want you to know this church has divine destiny on it. We began to talk to some leaders, and they said, well, where are you trying to plant? We said San Marcos, and this leader said, I've been praying for 10 years for San Marcos. We went to another leader, and he said, where are you going to plant? And we said San Marcos. He said, I've been praying for 15 years for that city. He said he had come and literally walked around the city and prayed over it that God would touch the city. I mean, God wants something awesome to happen here. You know what I'm saying? We began to find more people, and then we began to meet, and one of the leaders said, we have tried to send 3 churches into that city to start a new church, and they all failed. What is God up to? What is God wanting to do? There have been so many prayers, so much work, so many things happen, but it never worked. And now, look at you. It's working. you're making an impact in the city. You're making a difference. And so I don't know what you came with today. I don't know what's happening on your heart, but I know God is speaking something big for you to do. And when you hear from God and you respond, incredible things happen. Amen?
See, I think Jesse's spot on. I mean, God is doing something significant. Some of you guys, many of you have been the recipients of that, and you've seen your life shift and God move in your life, and you've seen things change with your kids and with your family, and you've experienced something that you can't explain, and it's God. And listen, yes, God uses individuals and he uses people, but we got to get this straight. It's only because of Jesus. I mean, we can serve all day long and we can put on egg drops and we can do cool things and we can feed some people, but without Jesus, this is all worthless. Like, our mission at Eikon Church is to help people become more like Jesus, because we believe the greatest thing that we can do for our community, listen, we can feed lots of people. We can drop thousands of eggs out of a helicopter. I mean, it's awesome. And we can have presents for people and we can do all these things, but the greatest thing that we can do for our communities, the greatest thing we can do for our city is to have an incredible, growing, thriving church that's pointing people to Jesus. Because he can change lives. He can change marriages. He can restore families. He can do anything. He can do it all. It's the greatest thing that we can do. Man, if you want to do something for our city, the greatest thing we can do is have a growing, thriving church that points people to Jesus, that just keeps going. It's all about him. It's all about him. It's all about him. Listen, thank you. I love getting to be a part of it, but let me tell you, it's all about Jesus. That's why we do this thing. And the more we do that, the more we say, it's about him. That's the greatest thing that we can do for our city. And I want to be real clear. I said the greatest thing that we can do is have a thriving, growing church. I believe Eikon Church, that God wants it to grow. Healthy things grow. And yes, I mean in depth, but I also mean in number. I want to be real honest. I believe that God wants us to grow numerically and reach more and more people and tell more and more people about Jesus. Why? Because numbers, they're people. And people have stories. And those stories matter to God, so they matter to us. Every single number that we count, it's all a person. And they've got a story. And they matter to God, so they better matter to us. But not only do we have a huge community. I mean, you start looking at Hays County, you start looking at our surrounding areas, and man, there's a lot of people that don't know Jesus. So our goal, this is awesome, but our goal is much, much bigger than this. But not only that, did you know that this area is growing a little bit? Did you hear that? I don't know if you've heard. It's kind of this thing that people are moving to this area, whether we like it or not. We can pull in Austin and say if we don't build it, they won't come, but trust me, they'll come anyway, all right? Ask anyone who lives in Austin, and they'll tell you they came anyway. This area is growing. In fact, did you know that Hays County is the second fastest growing county in Texas? The fifth fastest growing county in the nation. Hays County, fifth fastest growing county in the nation. You want to get scared? Any locals that have been here your whole life and you love it, the quaint, okay, just brace yourself a little bit. You know how many people that represents? Current population of Hays County, 176,000. In 35 years, 825,000 people in Hays County. That's just a shade under 1 million. That's about the size of Austin, okay? In the next 35 years, by 2050, that's 464% growth in the next 35 years. We want to be a great, growing, thriving church. There's a lot of people moving here. There's a lot of people coming here, and this is why we have to do this. The other side of this, and this one, honestly, as I was doing research, as I was studying, this one shocked me a little bit. Did you know that right now, 70% of Hays County doesn't attend a church on a regular basis? This statistic wouldn't surprise me in, say, like Austin. But in Hays County, this shocked me a little bit. Now, this doesn't mean that 70% of the people don't know Jesus, don't have a relationship with Jesus, but these people aren't engaged in a church. How many of these people love Jesus, but they haven't been connected to a family, to a community? We want to be the church for them too. We want to reach people far from God, and we want to reach people that are far from community. We've got to grow. We've got a mandate. Never before has the need been so great. Never before. I mean, for such a time as this, God has called us here. I don't think it's by happenstance when Jesse called, when we happen to be ready, when you happen to show up. God is doing stuff at a specific time. And I think he's telling us, Eikon Church, prepare yourself, because the need is great. There's a huge need. And you might look around and you might see everything that's Eikon has done. You say, I see the vision. And I want to tell you, I've got good news for you. Eikon Church, the leadership of this place, the staff and the board, we have a vision for this need. We've got a vision to reach these people. We know what it's going to take, and we've got a vision. And you might say, yeah, I've seen the vision. I've been here. Like, I've seen what you've done. And here's the thing. And this is really important. Vision is constrained by context. Now, you've seen our vision, but what you've really seen is you've seen our vision through our context. And the context right now is Goodnight Middle School and what we've been able to do through this current context. Now, how many of you guys were with us when we were at Texas Old Town? Yeah, good number of you guys were there or had visited us when we were at Texas Old Town. That's where he first started. It was a wedding venue down this country road. When you're driving, you're like, I'm either going to church or I'm going to get murdered by someone, because you're not quite sure. You're driving down this random road. We put out lots of signs like, yep, you're here. Just keep going. You're almost there. Keep going. And it was this beautiful facility. And it was awesome. When we first started, we had 2 different buildings, one for kids and one for adults, and it was amazing. In the back, one thing that made Eikon unique and made it special was after service, before service, and heck, even during service, we would take time out, and in the back there was this open space where people could mingle and meet each other and have coffee and donuts. How many of you guys remember? Yes, right? We're gonna have a revival now, right? Like, yes, I do remember the coffee and donuts. Yeah, I know. I remember it too. Trust me, I remember it. There was this time that you could stand in the back and mingle and talk to people and connect and build relationship, and it was awesome. But here's the thing, that context got pushed down. We had a great relationship with the leadership there, but they were growing, they saw us growing, and we had this conversation. We said, man, maybe we need to kind of squeeze down to one building. And we can make that work, and we can make it work. Our kids couldn't have their own building, but they could come, and we could do some stuff outside, and we could leverage it like this and move the rooms around like this. And this was about this time last spring. How many of you guys remember around this time last spring and the rain we had? I swear, God promised not to flood us again, but I'm not sure about that. Because last spring, it was rough. I mean, literally, we made this decision. We can go to one building, the kids can do stuff outside, and then it rained every single Sunday. Like every Sunday, I was going to Angie going, I am so sorry. Angie runs our kids ministry. I'm like, I'm so sorry. We'll have the kids in with us this service, and I realized that context got constrained a little bit more. And it got to the point where I said, my vision can no longer live within this context, because we're not going to have an environment for our kids where they get second best, where they get pushed outside and they're hot and they're sweaty and they can't do what they need to do and it's raining on them. Like, no, like we will not, our vision is too big. It can't be held within that. So I looked for a space for us to meet. I looked for a space for us to meet. And I looked and I looked and I have looked at every single property in this whole area, and we were just running into brick wall after brick wall, and an opportunity opened up here for Goodnight. We said, hey, it's a great opportunity, and we moved here. Now, I realize, can I just be real honest and vulnerable? I'm not a dummy, okay? I know you may think otherwise, but I get it that this environment, this was designed, let's be honest, to walk in, to find your seats, to watch a show, and to walk out. That's how it was designed. It wasn't designed to mingle and to connect and to meet new people and to hang out afterwards. I know we don't have coffee and donuts here. Like, I get it. Like, I think the first few weeks people came and they're like, does Dan know he forgot the coffee? I'm not sure if he does know. We may need to tell him. Like, I get it. I know. So there was this constraint on our context, and our vision is so much bigger than that. And we've had other things, and there's been other things we've had to work through. And man, our kids team does an incredible, incredible job. They do awesome. We can give them a huge round of applause. But can I explain to you what my vision is? Because my vision is so much bigger than a couple of gyms for our kids. It's awesome that they get an entire gym to themselves, and they get to run around and play games and do all those kinds of things. But in those gyms, they can't have snacks. Listen, we can live without donuts. Kids shouldn't live without goldfish crackers. That's not okay. It's not. You gotta have snacks. They can't do crafts. They can't color pictures. They have to go outside the area to do that. My vision for our kids' environment, I want kids to walk into a space, and as soon as they walk in, it's painted for them. It's decorated for them. There's trees coming out of walls. And they walk in and they go, someone cares about us. Someone thought we were coming, and they designed an environment just for me. I want parents to walk in and go, man, I want to bring my kids back here because this is amazing. I want kids as they're walking out to be grabbing mom and dad going, we got to go back. We got to go back. Listen, parents, you guys can put up with me. You know, if your kid loves it there, you can put up with a lot. That's our vision, but it's being constrained by our context. And I'm going to be real honest. And again, this opportunity that we have here at Goodnight, it's a blessing. It's awesome. It's amazing. And I don't want to sell this space short. But a couple of weeks ago, we got a call, and we've always had our nursery right across the hallway. Man, for new moms, new parents, when they come in and their kids are just right there, and it's an environment that's great, it's close, that's awesome. But just a few weeks ago, we got a call, and we can no longer use the dance room. And the team did a killer job. They set up a whole nursery area over there by the kids, and in fact, you haven't even seen all of it. They bought this bright colored fabric that they're going to decorate the walls and hang up to define the space. They're going to do awesome with the context they have, but that's not our vision. It's so much bigger. And I get it, not having a nursery there, can I just call a spade? It's not ideal. And it's not what I want. And for all those people, for our city, for all the people moving there, see, I can deal with it. Many of you, you can deal with it. You get it. But a new person, a guest who shows up, one of those 825,000 people that shows up, one of that 70% of people that aren't connected to a church, when they come and their baby's all the way over there, that's a little bit of a tougher pill for them to swallow. You see, our vision has to be big enough to reach them. Because it's not about just coming up here and talking and singing songs and all sorts. It's about introducing people to Jesus and pointing to Jesus. But if there's barriers to that, we're not going to be able to reach them as easily. So for all those reasons, you might wonder, man, what for our city? Where are you going with this and our vision? Here's the deal. The leadership of Eikon Church, we've been praying for a long time. We've been talking, we've been meeting with our board of elders and our board of trustees, and we realized something. We realized that Eikon Church needs a home. We need a permanent facility that we can call our own, that we can design and decorate and have kids environments and youth environments, and we can have coffee and donuts, right? We're gonna have revival. You know, like we need a space that guests can come in and we can talk out in the lobby and we can hang out and we can design our own space, designate just for us, and we can take care of our guests and we can say, hey, if you're a guest, coffee's on us today. You can make specialty drinks. We need a home. We need a permanent facility. And you might sit there and go, man, that's exciting, but why? I mean, why do we really need that? I mean, can't we get away with being here? If our context is here, and our vision is limited to this, yeah, we can. We can stay here, you're right. But we're not gonna reach all those people. We're not gonna be able to tell as many people about Jesus as we would be able to otherwise. So why? One, it communicates to our community that we're here to stay. You heard Jesse talk about how many church plants just within our connections have come here, started, and failed. There are study after study that many people, especially unchurched and de-churched people that were in a church and then left, when they look at churches that set up and tear down in temporary facilities, they look at it and they say, that's not really valid. Like they're here now, sure, but how long are they really gonna be here? You see, I want Eikon Church, yes, to be a church for us, but I want it to be a church for my kids. I want it to be a church for your kids and your grandkids and their kids. I want Eikon Church to be here in 50 and 100 years. They're not going to be here in this school for that long. That won't work. We need a permanent facility that communicates, hey, Hays County, we're here to stay. And we're serious about what we're doing, and we're not going anywhere, and we're not just here saying, hey, if this thing works these next couple years, we'll stay. No, we are here to stay, and we're planning ourselves, and we're making an investment long-term in our community. Number two, it gives us a hub to provide ministries for our community. Man, when we've had to do different things for our city, we're like setting up in rented spaces. If we have a permanent facility, that can be the hub that we reach out into our community, that we serve our community. I'll tell you this, there's one thing, in this area, to find a venue that can seat a good number of people and to have a good, engaging environment for that, there's not a whole lot of those around. Ask Lisa, who does a lot of events with the city. There's not a whole lot of spaces like that. What if we had a building that was our church that we said, hey, City of Austin or City of San Marcos, Kyle, whatever, you need a meeting space for your gathering? Hey, you can use our church for free. We want to serve you. We'll have coffee there. We'll take care of all that. We want to serve you. We want a hub for ministry that we can send missionaries out from, that we can send people out into our community to serve. It gives us a hub to do that. Number 3, it allows us to create excellent age-specific environments for our children and teenagers, that we're not setting up and tearing down a gym room, that we're not sticking our babies in a hallway. Granted, a really nice hallway that we really made look good, but a hallway. You know, that it's made and designed just for them. It communicates to people, we knew you were coming, we knew you'd have your kids, and we want it to be awesome. So it gives us that opportunity. Number 4, it's a catalyst for growth, allowing us to reach more people. Again, we want to grow because healthy things grow because people need to hear about Jesus, and it gives us an opportunity to tell more and more people about Jesus. That's why we're doing For Our City. That's why we're doing this campaign. That's why we're doing this series, to say we want to exist and we want to reach the people that are coming. This area is growing no matter what. So we believe that we want to be a church that has a permanent home, a permanent facility that we can call home. That we can say, hey, listen, we're here for our city. That we exist for our city. That we want to serve our city. We want to do ministry out of and reach all those people. And I'm so excited about this. I've been praying about this. We've been preparing ourselves for this, getting ready for this next step. I'm excited that it's come down to today, but can I, again, just continue to be a little honest? It's a big step for us as a church. We've been existing for just a few years, having public services. And honestly, I wouldn't usually be thinking this. If I were to create a 5-year plan, getting a permanent facility wasn't in that 5-year plan. I didn't know how we were going to do it because I'm going to be honest, it's expensive. It's expensive to renovate a facility. It's expensive to rent and lease a new facility. It's expensive to buy a new facility. And we got together with the elders of this church. And we presented this and we talked about this and they prayed. They said, yeah, I think this is what God's leading us to do. And we got together with the trustees that handle all the financial obligations of the church, and we presented this, and they said, yes, this is the direction we need to go. And we prayed, and we realized that we're going to need to raise some funds. So today, not only are we having a series called For Our City, but this series will also be the name of the financial building campaign that we're launching right now. And over the next 3 years, we're going to be raising $500,000 to go towards this facility. And absolutely. You might look at that. You might go, I'm in college. Like, I've got kids. I know, I've got 4. I get it. That's a lot. And honestly, when we were kind of running the numbers and sitting with the trustees and crunching the numbers and what is it going to cost to soft costs and chairs, man, chairs are expensive, and all these and kids spaces and all. And we realized this and we said, man, this is big. For our people, for our church, this is a huge step of faith, and I get it. And we're going to be, over 3 years, making commitments and making pledges and giving towards this, saying, God, people matter. People matter. This is for our city. People matter. God, I believe this isn't for me. This isn't for my family. This isn't for the staff. This is for us, so that we can reach our communities, so that we can reach our city, because people matter to God, so they better matter to us. And here's how God's going to do it. Here's how God's going to accomplish it. He's going to use you. He's going to use me. He's going to use every single one of us. He's going to use people that aren't even here yet. I love this passage. There was an author, and he was writing a letter to this church that started, and it was this fledgling church. He wrote this letter, and we find it in Ephesians. I want you to read this. He said, God can do anything, far more than you could ever imagine or guess or request in your wildest dreams. And he's writing this church. He goes, guys, you're thinking too small. And God can do so much more than that. And he does it not by pushing us around, but by working within us, his Spirit deeply and gently within us. And that's how God's going to do this. He's going to work deeply and gently within you. God wants to accomplish something in you through this campaign. He wants to accomplish something through you with this campaign, and he wants to do it so that so many people can be reached. Here's what's awesome. We need to raise $500,000 in the next 3 years. So for these past couple weeks, what I've been doing is I met first with our elders, and I asked them, hey, I want you to pray about how God would lead you to contribute to this campaign before we go to the church. And I went to our trustees, and I asked them that. And I went to the staff, and I asked them that. And then we've got people from around this nation. There's other churches that believe in us, that helped us early on, that they're still supporting us. We have individuals from outside this church that go to other churches that still support us and give towards us. And I went to all of them. And guys, we don't just have $500,000 to raise. I've got good news. We've got some money that has already come in, and we've got pledges that have already come in. In fact, already, before we launch this publicly, we have $207,000, 340 already committed. Guys, we're almost halfway there and we haven't even started, right? Like, this tells me, man, God might be in this. Like, just maybe. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but I think God might just be in this. I believe that he wants us to exist for our city, that he wants us to do this to reach more people. Listen, there's a multi-pronged approach to this. We realize there's lots of elements to this. In the announcement video, you heard him talk about how we're going to have a devotional that will become a part of this. We're going to have a whole devotional series that will go alongside with this. You can go to eikonchurch.com/blog, and you can put your email address in and sign up for the devotional. It'll be sent to you every single week. It'll show up in your inbox, and it's an opportunity to continue to pray. I want us as a church to journey together. I want us to be alongside each other. And yes, not just make a commitment, but make a commitment and go through this devotional. I believe that God will speak to you about how he wants you to be a part of this. And he's going to challenge you. If you're not in a small group, now, if more than ever is a time to join a small group. You can go to eikonchurch.com/groups, sign up for a small group, because we have a small group series called For Our City that will go along with this series here in church. So we're going to be asking some questions and talking about the message and that sort of thing. And then I want to be a resource to you. I'm sure you've got a million questions. So I'm going to be visiting every single small group here in the next 3 weeks. So if you've got a question, you have a question for me, go to a small group, jump into a small group. I'll be there at some point. And you can ask those questions. It can be an opportunity for us to talk about the vision and the mission of this church and how we're going to move forward. So we've got the devotional. We've got small groups. We've got lots of ways that you can participate. Here in a moment, our host team is going to come down and they're going to pass out these booklets. And in these booklets, there's going to be a few different things. The booklet's going to walk through kind of what we talked about today, why we're doing this, and helping us realize what this could look like and what this could be like. So we're going to pass that out. And then in that booklet, there's going to be an envelope in there, and then there's also going to be a commitment card. And we're going to ask over these next 3 weeks, and we're going to be asking today if you would make a commitment. If you and your family, your spouse, if you're single, just say, I commit over these next 3 years to give X amount towards this campaign. Because I believe that people matter to God, so they matter to me. And I believe in this campaign, and I believe that we exist for our city, and I want to be a part of this. And that's what so many people have already done, these commitments that have been taken up. Here's the deal. I realize that as a pastor, it's my opportunity. I get to lead the way in this. You see, a few years ago when we started Eikon Church, and they're going to go ahead and pass out these booklets, and I just ask, as they do that, you can take a glance, but I want you to continue to listen. Because a few years ago when we planted Eikon Church, Kelly and I had the opportunity to lead the way, and we gave sacrificially, and we risked everything, and guess what? It paid off. And we are so glad. It doesn't even look like, as we look back, it doesn't even look like a sacrifice. It looks like this awesome thing that we got to be a part of. But now, here we are. Things are good. And life is good. And God is asking us to once again to step up to the plate and to risk big. And I want you to know that I'm not asking you to do something that I'm not willing to do. I want you to know that as your pastor, I'm going to go first. I'm going to make my commitment. And I'm going to risk big, and I'm going to sacrifice big. See, Kelly and I talked, and we decided, we're going to look at our monthly budget, and there's things that we're going to cut out. We cut out cable. And we cut out certain things, and we said we can live without these things so that we can give that extra money for our city. See, I'm going to be real honest. $500,000, we're not going to get that by you going, I guess I could spare an extra 10, 20 bucks a month. I got this extra. It's going to take us looking deep and saying, am I willing to sacrifice to see people find Jesus? Am I willing to do what the venture team did all those years ago? Sacrificially give to see people. See, their sacrifice all those years ago, you're getting to sit in the chairs that they paid for. And the day will come that we'll be on the other side of this campaign and people will be sitting in the chairs that we paid for. And it won't look like a sacrifice then. It'll look like an investment in the kingdom of God. So we decided we're going to be giving sacrificially, but that's not enough. It's not enough just for us to cut back our monthly expenses so we can give some more. I realized that me, the pastor, I'm going to choose to make a sacrifice. I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite things to ride my Harley Davidson motorcycle, but I've decided I'm going to be selling that and giving all of that money to For Our City. I'm going to sacrifice. I'm going to give up something I love because you know what I love more than that? I love this church, and I love this city, and I love this community, and they matter to me. That motorcycle means nothing in light of eternity. And I'm not asking any of you to do this, but I believe God asked Kelly and I to even step further. And again, hear me, I'm not asking us all to do this, okay? I believe there are some things that God has asked me to do as the lead pastor to risk and to step out and say, hey, I'm willing. I'm giving everything I have. So we decided we cashed out a 401k and we said, God, it's yours. We're going to leverage that so we can give more to this campaign. I hope you're still there. And trust me, I'm a pastor. There's not a whole lot in my 401k. It's like a 101k. But nonetheless, I'm saying, God, I trust you. I trust that you're going to come through. Everything I have, God, it's yours. And I'm excited that I get to lead the way in that. And then, if this is what we can give through extra monthly gifts, through selling the motorcycle, the 401k, we're giving future tax returns, we're going to be making sacrifice on future vacations so we can give more. And then we realize we can give this much over 3 years. And then what we pledged, what we wrote down on our card was this much. And what we said is, God, I believe that if you give us this increase, that we'll give it. Now, I'm responsible for this. God's responsible for this. And it's this faith commitment, it's this faith pledge saying, God, I believe that if you give increase, that we'll give it to you. If we get a check, if something happens, if someone blesses us, God will give it to you. And I'm asking you to consider, to pray about doing all of those things. How could God lead you to give monthly? How could he could challenge you to give creatively, to give more? And would you be considerate to pray about? Would you consider making a faith promise above and beyond? And this is above and beyond our normal tithes, so I get it. We still have to operate as a church. I know what I'm asking, but I also know why I'm asking it. Because the people matter, and it's worth it. I think we'll stand on the other side of this, and it will be so worth it. So here's how we're going to close. In a moment, the band is going to play one final song. I want you to talk to your spouse or whoever you're with, and you pray about how God might lead you to contribute and give towards this campaign over the next 3 years. Here's the thing. This past week, I'd gotten all of this ready, right? I'd prepared my message, and I knew everything I was going to say, and I was done. And it was about a week and a half ago, and I felt like God said, what you have planned to do, it's not enough. I want you to take one more step of faith. And it's really risky, because I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure what I'm about to tell you is going to happen. This campaign is about us having a permanent home. And we believe, we don't know exactly where that's at. We don't know what God is doing for sure, but we're saying no matter what, we're going to invest towards that, and we're going to believe that God's going to provide over the next 3 years. We'll figure it out. But there is a building we have our eyes on. God's been doing something over these past few years. In fact, 2 months after we launched, I had someone come up to me and tell me they had a dream, which if you come up and tell me you have a dream, I'm taking you like a grain of salt, okay? They came up to me, said a dream for the church, and I believe that God's going to give you guys a permanent facility in 6 months. They were off by the time, obviously. And I believe it's going to be XYZ, building, church. And first of all, there's a church in there. And I was like, I'm not going to boot them out. And honestly, in that moment, I was like, all right, God bless you, brother, and just kind of wrote it off. And a few months later, someone else comes up to me and say, it's just crazy, I know, but I feel like God's going to give Eikon Church a permanent home, and I feel like it's going to be this building. And I actually heard that they're having some financial problems, and the pastor might be willing to sell the building. You should talk to him. And it was the same building. I said, man, this is kind of weird. So I'll go talk to him and pretend like we can afford it. And so I walked in and I talked to the pastor, and he told me kind of what was going on and how much he wanted to sell it for. And after I choked my own spit a little bit, I nodded my head, and I just knew that, this isn't going to happen. And we walked away. Several months later, this was, how long ago was this? Maybe a year ago or something. And I realized that the church is probably going to get foreclosed on. So I go and I talk to the pastor, and we're looking at it, and I had someone consulting me, and they say, ask who owns the note. Because if a local bank owns the note, someone we have a relationship with, we may be able to work something out just kind of internally, and they foreclose. And so I said, okay. So I go to the guy, and I said, so you own just by is the note owned by a big national bank, or you just kind of a number, or is it more kind of a local bank? And he says, oh, it's a national thing, but it's not really a bank. Now, there's a little piece of information you need to know. Eikon Church is a part of Fellowship of Churches. We're a part of a cooperative of other churches. It's not really a denomination, but it's this cooperative fellowship known as the Assemblies of God. And we're a part of that, have been from day one. So I'm meeting with this pastor, and I said, well, who owns the note? It's this kind of national thing. He's like, it's like, you've never heard of them. It's this like Christian lending organization called the Assemblies of God. And I go, funny, you should, I actually know them, actually, believe it or not. And I couldn't believe it. I didn't understand how they could have owned this note and how it happened. It's this crazy turn of circumstance. Some other bank loaned them the money, and the Assemblies of God, the AG, bought that note and a bucket of others, and it just so happened to be this building in our community. They got foreclosed on, and last summer, I got a call, and they said, hey, we heard you're kind of interested. Why don't you go ahead and put in an offer on this building? I spilled my coffee all over myself and said, oh, yeah. And they said, what do you have in cash reserves? And I said, what are those? And I realized we probably weren't prepared for this. And I got together our board, and I got together staff, and I met with people, and we got consultants, and we got construction companies, and we got everyone together, and we walked the building. What's it going to take? And we put together this offer, and long story short, it got rejected. Last December, it got rejected, and we realized, I think what God did is he gave us this opportunity, and he said, you're not quite ready for it. And we realized, man, we need to get ready. And this campaign came out of last December, realizing we need to prepare ourselves as a church that if something ever comes to us, that we're prepared to take advantage of it. So we plan to launch this campaign next fall, like this coming fall. That was our plan, and we had this brilliant idea. And then something happened. 2 months ago, I got a call from that construction company that we originally worked with in our first offer. He says, hey, this is crazy. You're not going to believe this. But the other contractor that was building out that building and fixing the things that needed to get fixed, they fired him and hired us. Our friends that did all the construction work that helped us put together our offer, they hired them. And he says, you're not going to believe this, but the AG came through the building and their other offers fell through. They've got no other offers, and they kept bringing up Eikon Church. He said, you guys need to prepare yourself. They're probably going to be giving you a call in the next couple months. And we said, holy cow. Well, if they call in the summer, we won't have the campaign till this fall. What do we do? And we had a couple things going on. I don't know, Easter and the egg drop. But we said, because we're gluttons for punishment, let's do it. So we printed books, and we got everything ready, and we met with tons and tons of people to launch this campaign on this day. And then a construction guy was like, hey, this is kind of crazy, but they're putting all new flooring in, painting the whole thing. They're putting carpet in this area and that area. We're the construction company. I'm just going to be picking out samples and sending it to them for their approval. Why don't you come in? Pick out whatever floor you want. Pick out the paint you want. Pick out the carpet you want, because it's on their dime. I'm just going to be picking it out, but why don't you pick it out? So this opportunity I met, and we've got samples and all that stuff. And then we contacted the AG when everything happened with the nursery. We realized, man, this isn't ideal. We lost the nursery, and we're trying to figure out what we're going to do. And they said, well, let's talk. Why don't you put an offer in? We've got no other offers on the table. Why don't you talk to us? And why don't you also go ahead and pick out whatever finishes you want, flooring. And I said, oh, that's a crazy idea. Okay, I guess. Pretended like we hadn't already had that conversation. And I'm telling you this for a reason. I have prayed for that building since our earliest days, believing that God has that building set aside for us. I don't believe that it's chance that two different people years ago had the dreams they did and the thoughts they did. I don't think it's by chance that the AG just happened to buy that note of that church building. I don't think it's just by chance that the construction company we're friends with got hired to do all the renovations. I don't think it's chance that they lost those 2 other offers and they've got no other offers. I believe that God is doing something significant. And this is an opportunity that if we step up in a big way, that we could get that facility. And in fact, what I'd like to do is next week, I'd like to show it to you. Next week, I'd like to show you pictures, but I'm sure you're all thinking, what building, Dan? Like, just tell us what building. It's ironic. Better, it's God. It's actually directly across the interstate from where we started in Texas Old Town. It's on the east side of 35. It's a church building that sits up on a hill. It's formerly Word of Life Church. As you drive north on I-35 and look to the east, you can see it sitting up on a hill. You can see it from I-35. It's big. It's scary. It's a huge leap. And here's the deal. I'm going to be real honest. I don't know if it's going to happen. I can't make it happen. We can do only what we can do. We're going to be wise as we're going to meet with the trustees and we're going to decide, God, is this you? But I'm going to be honest, I really think it is. And I believe that. I absolutely. But it's going to take us stepping up. That $500,000 in 3 years, we're going to need some initial money up front. And it's awesome. One person, one family already wrote a check for $25,000 and said, it's in your campaign. Done. We'll give it to you. There's people already doing it. We're going to need that. We're going to need some miracle offerings. We're going to need people that can stroke checks for $100,000. Because to do this and to do it on the timeline that it looks like things are happening in, we need a miracle. But I've got good news. We pray to a miracle-working God. And I believe that all of this, none of this is by chance, that God is doing something significant for such a time as this. And we've got a huge opportunity, Eikon Church, but we got to step up to the plate. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to pray. The band is going to sing a song, how God is for our city, how this city is his. Not San Marcos, not Kyle, not New Braunfels, not Wimberley. It's all his. We believe that we're going to get to be a part of pointing more and more people to Jesus. So let me pray. As a song plays, you can sing, but I want you to fill out that connection card. We'll collect it here in just a moment. God, I thank you so much that we get to be a part of this. God, I thank you for such an amazing group of people that I get to serve alongside, that I get to be a part of this. Jesus, it's so humbling that we all get to be a part of it. And I pray that we would point people to you. Jesus, use us, use this room to make the impossible possible. Lord, your word tells us that you're able to do far above and beyond all we could ever ask, hope, or imagine. God, you can do way more than 500,000. We believe that you're able, but how you're going to do it is you're going to work in us deeply and gently. You're going to move us to sacrifice big. God, you've seen how the leadership of this place has already stepped up. God, and I thank you for all the other people that are going to get to be a part of this. Lord, we love you, and we declare this city is yours. In your name, amen.